Picture this. Sarah is a completely healthy, 19-year-old university student. She's just strolling across her college campus, totally relaxed, laughing with her friends. It's just an ordinary day, and she isn't thinking about her breathing at all. I mean, why would she? For most of us, taking a breath is entirely automatic. But today, Sarah's body is about to turn this basic, life-sustaining function into an absolute battlefield. So, the air is thick. It's one of those dusty harmattan afternoons, and fine particulate matter is swirling all around her. She takes a deep, seemingly innocent breath right in the middle of a laugh. And in that exact moment, nothing feels wrong. She doesn't cough, she doesn't gasp, but unseen to her, deep inside the microscopic pathways of her lungs, a violent chain reaction has already kicked off.
Section 1. Before the battle begins. To really grasp the storm that is brewing inside Sarah's chest, we first need to establish what a calm, effortless respiratory baseline actually looks like.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you take a normal breath, the air goes on this incredibly smooth, unobstructed journey. It enters your nose or mouth, travels down through the pharynx and larynx, into the trachea, and then branches out through the bronchi and the tiny bronchioles before finally arriving at the alveoli. And get this, if you were to flatten out all those tiny alveoli, they would literally cover an entire tennis court. Crazy, right? Normally, it is just a perfect, silent system. Honestly, the best way to visualize this whole setup is to picture a giant, upside-down tree. Your trachea is the thick trunk. The bronchi and bronchioles are the branches, getting thinner and more delicate the further out they reach. And at the very ends of those branches are millions of tiny leaves, the alveoli. In a healthy state, those tiny branches remain wide open. Their lining is super thin, mucus is minimal, and oxygen just slips into the blood effortlessly while carbon dioxide drifts right out.
Which brings us to Section 2, the airway under attack. Because asthma completely flips the script. It isn't just difficulty breathing, it is a chronic inflammatory disease. Long before Sarah ever felt a single symptom, her airways were already chronically irritated. And when that dust hit those sensitive pathways, her immune system violently misfired. Let's just look at the sheer, mind-blowing speed of this attack. At minute 0, the dust particles enter her airway. For you or me, this is absolutely nothing, but for Sarah, seconds later, her hypervigilant immune cells recognize an allergen and completely overreact. Almost immediately, they release inflammatory mediators. A major player here is histamine, which essentially grabs a megaphone and screams, "Danger detected!" throughout her lungs. Leukotrienes, prostaglandins, and cytokines violently flood the area. The alarm has been sounded.
Section 3. The asthma triple threat. You see, this isn't just one isolated problem happening in the lungs. Thanks to that sudden chemical alarm, the body unleashes a coordinated assault on its own airways, creating 3 distinct biological failures all at exactly the same time.
We call this the asthma triple threat. First up, swelling. Imagine the inside of a drinking straw that suddenly becomes thick and swollen. The opening drastically narrows. That's airway edema. Second, muscle constriction. Wrapped around every single bronchiole are smooth muscles acting like tiny drawstrings. The chemicals cause them to fiercely pull shut. And third, excess mucus. The airway lining starts pumping out this incredibly thick, sticky mucus. What was supposed to protect the airway is now actively clogging it up. Swollen walls, tightening muscles, sticky mucus, all at once.
Meanwhile, Sarah is still just walking across campus. But suddenly, the conversation stops. She notices she kinda can't take a full breath. It's super subtle at first. As her body registers the increased resistance to airflow, breathing suddenly requires conscious, noticeable effort. Something just didn't feel right. And this brilliantly illustrates what comes next, the physical manifestation of that struggle, the wheeze. Wheezing isn't just some random sound. It happens because air is being forcefully shoved through those violently narrowed bronchioles. Think of air being blown forcefully through a nearly closed whistle. The smaller the opening gets, the louder and more high-pitched that musical noise becomes. It is the literal sound of air struggling to move. Section 4. When air gets trapped. Let's look at how this builds from a struggle to inhale into the escalating terror of trying to exhale. Because this is where the mechanics of asthma become truly fascinating and incredibly dangerous. Now, what's really fascinating about this slide is the contrast in the mechanics. You'd think getting air into the lungs is the hardest part, right? Actually, getting it out is much harder. During inhalation, your chest expands, and negative pressure physically helps pull the air inward.
But during exhalation, airways naturally narrow slightly, while in an asthma attack, they narrow dramatically. The air gets stuck. Imagine the millions of alveoli as hundreds of tiny balloons. Air gets into them, but it cannot efficiently leave. More air comes in on the next breath, even less exits. The lungs slowly, dangerously overinflate. Because that air is trapped, the normal exchange of gases completely breaks down. Carbon dioxide, which should be casually exhaled, begins to rapidly accumulate in the blood, and the respiratory center in the brain, which is constantly monitoring oxygen, pH, and carbon dioxide, definitely notices. It interprets this rising CO2 as extreme, immediate danger. The brain hits the panic button and sends out a sudden, frantic, overriding command: breathe faster. The respiratory rate spikes, accessory muscles in the neck and the ribs violently activate. You start to see nasal flaring. What is normally a completely passive, invisible background process suddenly turns into exhausting manual labor.
This is exactly why patients in the middle of a severe attack almost always describe the terrifying sensation that someone is physically sitting on their chest. It's not in their imagination. It is a visceral, biological reality. Their lungs are hyperinflated, the airways are clamped down, and their respiratory muscles are working to the point of absolute exhaustion just to keep them alive.
Section 5. The silent chest danger. By the time Sarah arrives at the emergency department, she is highly anxious, struggling to finish even a single sentence, and suffering from intense air hunger, which is honestly one of the most fundamentally distressing sensations a human can experience. Interestingly though, her oxygen saturation might actually still appear normal on a monitor, because the body compensates remarkably well early on. But make no mistake, she is in extreme danger. And then, the wheezing just stops. Now, a lot of people might think, hey, no more wheezing, she must be getting better. But in severe asthma, the sudden disappearance of a wheeze is actually an incredibly frightening sign. It's called a silent chest. The airways have narrowed so deeply and the mucus plugs have become so thick that airflow is now dangerously minimal. No sound literally means no air. Carbon dioxide is rising, the blood is becoming acidic, and the diaphragm is weakening. Without immediate intervention, exhaustion will lead to respiratory arrest and ultimately cardiac arrest.
But here is Section 6, winning the breathing battle. Fortunately, the medical team is right there. They understand that asthma is a dynamic battle, and they know exactly how to reverse the swelling, the constriction, and the mucus before exhaustion takes over.
So, the crucial point is how these two treatments specifically target that triple threat we talked about earlier. First, a nebulizer delivers salbutamol. This specifically tells those fiercely constricted smooth muscles wrapped around the bronchioles to relax, and it works incredibly fast, in minutes. The airways open, the wheeze briefly returns, and air starts moving again. But that doesn't cure the underlying inflammation. That's where corticosteroids like hydrocortisone come in. They take several hours to work, but they are absolutely essential for reducing the actual swelling of the airway walls and halting the massive immune activity and mucus production.
Slowly, Sarah's breathing stabilizes. The tension finally leaves her shoulders. Because as terrifying as asthma is, a literal battle between inflamed airways trying to close and a body desperately trying to keep air moving, it is highly, highly treatable. With the right management, inhalers to combat triggers, and steroids to keep inflammation at bay, patients don't just survive, they live completely normal lives. I mean, many even compete as elite athletes.
Healthcare professionals know that every wheeze, every struggled sentence tells a story of a hidden war deep inside the lungs. Millions of tiny branches and microscopic leaves working in perfect harmony until the exact moment they aren't. So when you take your next perfectly normal, entirely automatic breath today, ask yourself, what incredible unseen battles are happening right now just to keep you alive?